So every artist hits this wall at some point. You've learned the fundamentals, you can make stuff that you actually are kind of proud of, but everything takes you forever. Like a single drawing will eat your entire weekend, and meanwhile you see other artists pumping out finished pieces like it's nothing. And that makes you feel kind of inadequate, honestly. And I felt exactly the same when I started in the game industry, constantly comparing myself to people on my team, working at Blizzard, who could do twice the work that I could in the same amount of time, often even more. But here's the thing that I eventually figured out, and it completely changed how I think about this. Like, drawing faster has almost nothing to do with moving your hands faster. Just watch any experienced artist work and they're not rushing at all. They're calm, they're deliberate. So if speed isn't about hurrying, then what is it? Well, speed is just what's left over when you stop wasting time. That's the whole secret. Fast artists aren't going fast, they've just removed all of the slow. And that might sound like a different way to say exactly the same thing, but it isn't. So this video isn't really about how to go faster, it's about how to stop being slow. This will be the most valuable video you've watched all week, so let's get right into it. Alright, the single biggest source of wasted time by a mile is redoing work that you already did. And I don't mean like small touch-ups, I mean getting 3 hours deep into a painting and then realizing the composition was kind of broken from the start and having to tear it all down and start from scratch. And at this point, it doesn't really matter if you're fast or not. That one mistake will cost you like more time than any other inefficiencies all combined. And here's the counterintuitive part, but the way to avoid this is by going slower at the very beginning. And I know that this is a video about going faster, and my first tip is to slow down, but stay with me. The start of any piece, the thumbnail, the composition, the rough value passes, like that stuff takes very little time, but decides almost everything. So if you spend an extra 15 minutes doing a few quick thumbnails before you actually commit, well, you might save yourself 5 hours rendering something that was never going to work to begin with. So that's the trade. A few cheap minutes up front to avoid hours of expensive cleanup later. The fastest artists that I know are actually kind of slow and careful in the planning phase, specifically so that the rest of the process has no nasty surprises. Like, they front load all of the big decisions while they're cheap, while they're easy to change, easy to iterate through. And by the time they start rendering, every important call has already been made, really. So there's nothing left to do but just to execute. No detours, no reworking things multiple times. It's just a clear road ahead. So before you commit to a piece, get the big stuff locked in, like the pose, composition, lighting, value structure. Make all of your mistakes there, in the rough stage where fixing them costs you seconds to minutes maybe, instead of hours. Now here's one that almost nobody thinks about, but it's a huge one, and it's how you actually work, like the method that you're using, if any. Because if you're just kind of winging it every single time, like if you're starting with no plan and figuring out each step as you go, then you just found a problem that's probably costing you double the time that you would need, really. Now, what I'm talking about here is having a recipe. That's what I usually call my methods when it comes to art. I teach a bunch of these for free here on the channel, like this class on how to color your drawings, and that's just one example. And the whole point of a recipe is to give you a set list of steps that you follow every single time, right? So this way there's less to think about when you work. There's less guessing, less staring at your canvas, kind of wondering what you're even supposed to do next. Now think about cooking. Like the first time you follow a recipe, it's kind of slow, right? Like you're reading every line, double checking that you got the right amounts, making sure that you didn't miss anything, right? But, by the 10th time you make the same dish, well, you barely look at the recipe anymore, like you just know it. And because you're not stopping to think at every single step, well, you get it done way faster. And honestly, it usually comes out better as well. So art works the exact same way. When you draw using a process that you've repeated dozens of times, hundreds of times eventually, all that decision making just disappears. You're not wondering whether to line or block in your color first, whether to shade now or maybe later, or like what order to do anything in, really. You already know because it's the same every time. And all of that mental energy that you've spent second guessing on the process, well, now you can spend on the actual art. So here's my advice. Find a method that you like and stick with it long enough that you actually start to internalize it. Like find one that speaks to you, obviously, like one where you like the result, and then just commit to it. No cheating with another method. And you can grab one of mine to start if you want, like they're all over the channel. And over time, you'll naturally start, tweaking it, like making little changes, adding your own steps until it becomes your own thing. Just like I've made all the techniques that I've learned over the years, mine, and that's what I'm teaching now. And maybe without the teaching part, you want to be doing exactly the same thing, right? The speed comes from the repetition. Like the less you have to think about what you're doing, the faster the work goes every single time. All right, this is the one that most of you are guilty of. And I catch myself, doing it too sometimes. Over detailing. Pouring time into tiny details that just don't matter in the final results. Think about how you look at art yourself. When you're scrolling, how long do you actually spend on a single image? A minute? No way, that's way too long. 10 seconds? 10 seconds is a long time. It's probably more around like 1 or 2 seconds. Maybe 3, if the image really grabs your attention. But nobody is zooming into the corner of your painting to admire like all of the individual pixels that you agonize over for an hour. They see the whole thing at a glance, kind of browsing quickly on their phone. So why would you spend half your time on stuff that's basically going to be invisible at that scale? Well, the fix is the same that I've sworn by for years. Just don't zoom in or use a brush that's a little too big, like both of those will physically stop you from diving into details a little too early. You're forced to keep working on the scale that people will actually see it. And a great trick is to start working at, roughly the same size that your art will be displayed at. So, like phone size, basically, so that you're never really tempted to polish things that will shrink down to just a few pixels anyways. So spend your time where the eye will actually go, which for most character pieces is the face, or like the immediate surroundings, and let everything else just stay rougher. Nobody will see it anyways. Spend your time where it actually shows up. Now, all of this assumes you've actually got the fundamentals to know what's worth your time and what isn't, which is probably the key thing that makes artists really fast. Like the more you understand, the fewer decisions you have to agonize over because you just know. And building that deep, fast recall understanding is exactly what my complete art education program is designed to do. Art School for Digital Artists, it's the sponsor of this video. You get 30 in-depth classes from the absolute fundamentals all the way to professional work, structured week by week, so you're never guessing what you should be working on next. You get lifetime access, all future updates and additions for free, and private access to our school's Discord with the best artist community out there. We just crossed 32,000 students, and to celebrate, we've got the whole program at 38% off for a few more days until the end of the month only. The link's in the description along with all the details. The faster you build real fundamentals, the faster everything else goes. It all compounds. Now, back to class. Now, the last one, and this one will tie kind of everything together. You want to stop giving yourself escape routes. Now, what I mean is, a lot of what slows you down is kind of the safety net that you've built for yourself, like the 470 layers so you can undo pretty much anything. The many short, like chicken scratch lines that you then have to clean up later instead of just one confident stroke that's right from the start. It's that whole I'll fix it later mentality. All of that feels safer, but it actually makes you much slower because when you know you can always undo it, you never fully commit. So try the opposite for a while. Even though it'll feel very uncomfortable at first, limit yourself to like 5 or 6 layers, max. And similarly, force yourself to draw one long confident line instead of 10 little scared ones. If you do traditional work, try drawing in pen instead of pencils, where there's no undo at all. It sounds unreasonable, maybe, and your instinct is going to be that you can't possibly work that way, but I did exactly this years ago, and it genuinely changed everything for me. Like, when you remove the escape route, your decision making completely changes. You start actually thinking before you commit, because suddenly there's a little bit more at stake, right? You know, instead of quickly spraying brush strokes and sorting it out later. And weirdly, that means that you redo things way less, which makes you faster. Commitment forces care, and care removes waste. So here's the whole thing in one idea. You don't get faster by speeding up. You get faster by removing the slow parts. Stop redoing work by planning up front. Follow a recipe so that you're never guessing your way through every step. Stop polishing stuff nobody sees. And commit to your brushstrokes instead of hedging every decision. None of that is about moving your hands any faster, right? If you can imagine yourself in a car driving from the start of your drawing to the end of it, well, it's all about clearing out the fallen trees off the road so that you can just actually drive, you know, without having to slow down or take detours the whole way. So you just do these, the ones we mentioned, and the speed will take care of itself. It certainly did for me, and it did also for every single experienced artist that I know. Now, if you want to go deeper on what quietly makes every artist faster, which is just understanding the fundamentals so well that you just stop second guessing, well, you should watch my video on how to learn art faster next. So it pairs perfectly well with everything that we just covered. So now that you know how to literally draw faster, next up, how to learn faster. I'll see you over there.